Now, he has been called the most interesting man in the NFL, and for good reason. We're excited to have New York Jets NFL player and doctor Laurent Duvernay-Tardif in studio this morning. Bienvenue à BT. I don't know. How's my French? Was that okay?
That was pretty good. Yeah, good accent. I love it.
Listen, no kidding, most interesting man in sports. I've got a list here. Super Bowl. Okay, check. Whoever says that, along with a medical doctor, medical degree, wrote books, started foundation. You've also teamed up with Clarins on a brand new line, and this is for the guys out there, so gather around the TV.
Cool.
Right, we're going to talk about that just a second. Take us back to July 24th, when you announced on Twitter that you were going to opt out of playing for the 2020 season as a precaution due to, what was that thing, COVID?
Yeah, big pandemic. Yeah, I mean, it was a tough decision for me, but at the same time, I think it kind of makes sense, you know. For the past 6 years, I've been transitioning from playing football to working as a medical student. I eventually graduated, and then by the time I graduated, we won the Super Bowl, and there was a pandemic. So it just didn't make sense for me to, you know, cross the border to go play the sport that I love, but also to potentially become a vector of transmission. You know, you play in another city every second week, and every city is a major hotspot. Like, why would you do that? And at the time where I decided to opt it out, there were like 70,000 new cases a day in the U.S., you know? And I think for me, it was more important to stay here and to care for people in needs. The long-term care facility were, of course, like severely hit by the pandemic, so I decided to went in there. And I worked for basically a full year.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of like the reasons many of us didn't go out, of course, because we didn't want to transmit, but on top of it, you have this several passions, obviously. Was being a doctor something you always wanted?
Yeah, I would say so. Like at the beginning, I was like, I want to be an engineer growing up. And I realized there was like too much computer work. And I feel like to some extent, medicine is kind of that perfect balance of like, okay, you have the science, but you also got to work with somebody, you know, and everybody's different. You got to work with personality, with socioeconomic background. And that's kind of what makes medicine an art to some extent, you know, and we really saw that through the pandemic. Like, you cannot treat everyone the same. And that's kind of the beauty of it too, you know. So that's really what passionate me about medicine. And that's also why I kind of wrote this book. You know, at the beginning, there was a lot of frustration with the pandemic. And I was like, how can I turn that into something positive? Because inside the hospitals, inside the long-term care facility, there were just so many great things happening. So many people dedicating their time and sacrificing so much in order to care. And I was like, okay, I gotta find a way to tell those stories as well. And I started writing some small stuff, and it turns into a book. And I'm really proud of that, because it's not only the negative side that we keep hearing about COVID, it's also the positive side. And also, it's also my journey. It's also the Super Bowl win. It's everything.
Yeah, and how that experience of winning the Super Bowl when you couldn't really not only celebrate the same way, but be celebrated in the same way. I
mean, it's still winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, at the end of the day, of course, yeah.
So I mean, that's never going to be taken away from me, but I think you're right. You know, the celebration part was kind of different because of the pandemic. And for me, like every year for the past 6 years, I've been, you know, finishing up the season by losing in the playoff, and then boom, you're working as a medical student, and that season was no different. It's just that we won the Super Bowl, the biggest sport event in the world, and then you transition to working on the front line of a pandemic.
And as if you're not busy enough, you've also teamed up with Clarins. You've got a brand new line of products. And for you guys that are still washing your hair and your body with the same bar of soap, you've actually got something for the men. And we're going to talk about beard care, but I know that Clarins also has a great men's skincare line as well.
Absolutely. We launched that one 2 years ago, the Clarins Men Energy line. It's awesome. And, you know, for me, like, all my partnership are related to health in some ways, you know, and skincare. Like, when you think about skin is the biggest organ on the body, and we got to take care of it, you know. And now we're launching this new Barber series, the Barber line. We got many different products, and honestly, it's amazing as well. So it's a great partnership for me. It's been going on for 3 years, and we're in Toronto this week to do a media launch for the new beard line.
Yeah, you heard about it here first.
Yeah.
The big launch. Laurent, thank you so much. I know the guys and the ladies, by the way, will be happy, because the guys will be taking care of softening up
Not
that
too
beard.
glowy, but just perfect.
Just perfect. For anyone that wants to find out more about you, where they can find out?
I guess
Twitter,
Internet, Twitter,
Instagram,
yeah.
Clarins. It's all there. And, of course, breakfasttelevision.ca.